Good afternoon, everyone. That's called a lack of sleep. I do apologise. I will get my words out. I cannot tell you how I'm very grateful for all of our guests that are taking part in this weekend before I upset anybody. But I am so humbled and a bit emotional, actually. I'm so grateful to be able to speak to this wonderful lady that I was just saying to her in the background there. Derek was a wonderful man, and he used to always talk about Gwen. Whenever he possibly could, he would talk about Gwen, and she would always be mentioned whenever you used to go and see him anywhere over the years. And so lovely. And I'm just overwhelmed that she's agreed to come and chat to us. And I'm going to stop rambling because I'm just all excited. So I'm just going to bring her on. Hello.
Hello, good afternoon. And I feel very humbled too at your words. Good Lord.
I can't even get my words out. I just generally, this has come honestly and heartfelt. When I contacted you and you said that you would take part in our event, I was overwhelmed that you actually said yes. I was so pleased because, you know, especially with Derek's anniversary as well, you know,
yes.
And it's still obviously going to be forever fresh for you, regardless of how many hours, days, weeks, months, years, because you had a lifetime and so much love for each other.
Yes. And, nothing ever goes away. You just learn to live with it, basically.
Each day at a time, isn't it? That's literally all you can do.
It is. Yes, it is. And this is such a worthy cause, because so many people are suffering at the moment through the situation that the world is in at the with the COVID thing. That so many people are feeling isolated and unhappy, and it's a horrible thing if you're feeling that way. And there's nothing that anybody can say or do to help it, really, apart from talk to people. You mightn't be able to talk to them face to face, but there's the phone, the internet, whatever, sort of it. Talking is the most important thing, I think.
It is. And even if you don't feel, we've said this time and time again, even if you don't feel that you can open to anyone, just knowing that someone's there to listen.
Oh, yes. It makes a world of difference knowing that you're not on your own.
It's just reach out.
I mean, I am eternally grateful for the help and support that I've received over the past 12 months, because I don't really think I'd have been able to do it on my own, if I'm perfectly honest. But so many people have come forward that they've just been wonderful. They've been marvelous, and they've kept me going. I mean, my family are wonderful. I'm not taking anything away from my family, but yeah, people generally have been so kind and so supportive. They definitely helped me through.
Well, that's wonderful, because Derek was such a lovely man, and
he was. Yes, he was indeed.
Loved by so many people. He was loved and respected by so many people. And I think that's wonderful, the fact that people have actually stepped forward and offered their help to you and their support to you. And what I think is absolutely fantastic is that you are continuing his legacy with the help and support of other people. And I think that's a fantastic thing that you're doing. It must be very difficult for you, but a wonderful thing that you're doing it.
At times it is, but I think of the years that Derek put into working for spirit, for people, because he loved people. He absolutely loved people. He loved being with them, and the whole thing. It'd be awful after all these years just to say, no, that's it, gone, finished.
Well, he had such a
It's impossible.
fantastic career, didn't he? And he worked. He worked for that. You know, he did well because he worked for it. You know, nothing was ever
Oh
handed
yeah.
to him. You
Oh
know,
no, no,
and
no.
so he
He
also
never
working.
he never sought anything. He never went chasing after anything, but nothing was just handed to him. Whatever he got on his own, because
On
of
his
the
own
person
merit.
that he was. And yes, and his personality helped as well.
He, like I said, I never knew him personally. I think I met him probably on about 3 occasions.
Yes.
And each time I did meet him, I just thought he was lovely and genuine,
He
in such as
was.
he was lovely and genuine, such a kind person, and the way when he talked about you when he used to go in the theatre or something, his eyes would just the smile on his face and his eyes would light up, and the love that the two of you must have
Oh
had, you could just see it.
yeah.
It just
Oh, we had a very good um relationship. I mean, everybody has their ups and downs, and Derek used to do some things that used to drive me to distraction, so most of which I shared on Facebook.
it wouldn't be a marriage otherwise, would
Over
it?
the years. But yeah, he was a wonderful person. He was a wonderful person. He really was.
Well, we've got my mum's actually just come in. And you know what? It's probably the first time she's been on all day.
Oh,
If you come
right.
on because it's you.
I'm
We
very honoured.
every time I met Derek, it's because I went with we went together, you see.
Right. Yes.
And it was my mum that got me into watching the shows, is like um to watching the TV shows and things like that. And
Right.
yeah, each time I ever went to see him, I went with mum. In I think the last time I saw him, it was myself and my husband and my mum. I think it was the last time we saw him
Right.
live with an
Yeah.
audience. And actually, um, Derek gave my husband his first ever reading.
Did he really?
He did.
I hope he
So
enjoyed it.
for me personally, that was such a lovely moment.
Yeah.
That of all
Yeah.
the mediums we've seen, of all the ones we could meet, it was him that did it. And I just thought that's something that I've
Yeah.
always remembered, and we're always forever keep that with us. I'm
Yeah.
just going to have a look at the comments crew. We've got some mic feedback. Oh, it stopped again now. It's very odd. It comes and goes. I don't know what's going on. Haunted Scout was actually called Chris. I'd actually know his real name now.
Oh, right.
He said Derek was a true legend and a
Yes.
good red as well.
Oh, he was that all right. Yes. Oh, he adored Liverpool Football Club. Oh, the world stood still when they were they were playing, and he'd sit on the sofa and watch the game with the dog either side of him, and I'm sure he trained them to like football, because they used to seem engrossed as, and whether he was cheating somehow with treats or something like that, I don't know, but they certainly seem football fans.
Yeah, my mum and my brother are Liverpool supporters.
Are they?
That's probably the other reason she liked him so much.
Yeah,
It's
that
all
could
the same
possibly
team.
be it.
I'll just go. Saw Derek live in Southport. He had an amazing way of holding an audience in the palm of his hand and a great sense of humour.
Yes.
That's what I mean.
He
He was a
was,
very captivating person.
and it just a Scouse personality, I think. I think that he was just an outgoing personality, and he had a sort of a warmth about him. There was no side. What I don't know how you did, but there was no side to Derek. What you saw was what you got, basically. He was the same at home as he was out of the home. Used to get up to mischief and all sorts
We
of
have
things.
seen the
So, pardon?
We have seen the videos that you posted over time.
Yes.
Quite amusing on the odd occasion.
Yeah.
Louise says, can she ask, are you from Wirral?
No, I'm not. I'm from I was brought up in Gattaca in Liverpool. Yes.
Oh, this is obviously somebody you know. Gwen is amazing, although she will hate me for saying it.
Thank you.
Like I said, it's lovely to actually talk to you and get to know you a little bit. The lady behind
I'm a very boring person.
The man is what I'd like to call him, because he was a presence, wasn't he? He was the force of a man. He was just a presence, and you were the lady behind. You were probably the force behind the man, I should say. With the support, I mean.
I think most people have somebody else behind them working hard. Yes, anybody who's as busy as Derek was have a backroom staff or a backroom person or something like that, because they can't do it on their own, you know. And it's better, I think, that it's somebody that's close to them, because then they can understand what's going on, you know. Sort of most of the mediums that I know that are busy. I'm not this false that we have at the moment. Yeah, that they have to have a team behind them.
And we were chatting in the studio before we got started. I was talking to you about Craig Morris that we had on last night, a very good friend of yours and Derek's.
Oh, yes, Craig, yeah. Yes.
And we were chatting about spiritualist churches, you and I, and you were telling me about how Derek started with spiritualist churches, which people probably don't realise that.
Oh no, but they probably don't, because the sort of paranormal side of the work got in the way of everything. But when I first met Derek, as I said to you, he was going to different places 4 or 5 times a week, if it be a rescue circle or a service or a divine service, or even development circles and this sort of thing. He used to join in to help mediums coming through. Yeah, he spent a lot of time, and of course his first demonstrations in front of an audience it was on the platform of spiritualist churches. It wasn't in a hall or this sort of thing. It was only when the spiritualist churches didn't hold enough people, and that is why we decided that we go to something a little bigger. And that's how the theatre thing started. It started off with small working men's clubs or something like that, where they could fit an audience of a couple of 300. And then, of course, the audiences got bigger, and the theatres. That's how the theatres came about. Yeah. The first theatre he ever appeared in, proper theatre, was in Telford. Oh, what was the hell's the name of it? I've forgotten the name of the theatre now, but it was Telford anyway, in Shropshire. And but prior to that, he'd done civic halls and things like that.
I think that's kind of how it starts for a lot of people, but people in the
Mm,
paranormal field, this is why I was chatting to you earlier, and this is why I felt it really important to get Craig on last night
mm,
and to talk about churches and that type of thing,
yeah.
because a lot of the mediums that you see, Derek included, as you've confirmed there, started out in that way.
Mm. Oh yes, yes,
So
yes. Lots of them. I mean, um, the people that excuse me, the people that Derek appeared on stage with, the great Colin Fry and
they were very good friends,
other.
weren't they?
Oh, absolutely, yes, yes, yes. They oh, we had some fun with Colin off stage. No, it was he was a lovely man. He was a lovely man, and of course we met a lot of people through Colin. Barry, we met through Colin and Craig. Um, I can't remember where I first met Craig, but I remember Craig being in Spain with us when Derek and Colin did their show
That's
at
what he
the
was saying about last night. That's what he was saying last night about Spain. I think it was he was
yes,
talking about.
yes, the Benidorm Palace. Yeah, it was a
As you
fabulous
do.
night. Well, yeah. Yeah, it was a fabulous night. Yeah.
Julie says it was Derek's work that introduced me to Christian Spiritualist Church. Best thing I ever did. Forever grateful.
Ah, well, that's really lovely to hear. I know that Julie's an ardent supporter of Derek's, and she's been very kind in supporting Derek's. Derek was patron of the Pathfinder Guide Dog Program charity, and I know that Julie's been very good and very generous in that direction as well.
So, like we said, starting back from his career, he started out in the spiritualist churches, moved on to auditoriums and so on and
Mm,
so on.
mm.
And then, what was his first TV appearance? It seems such a long time ago. I
His
suppose
first
it
team.
is, really. I suppose I kind of
Well,
grew up with him.
it is because it must have been the mid 90s, the mid 1990s when he appeared on Granada Breeze. It was supposed to be a one-off appearance. It was National Tea Week, and they wanted a tea leaf reader, and Derek said, "I'm not a tea leaf reader." They said, "Blag it," so he did. Because, I mean, yeah, tea leaf reading. I've forgotten the technical name for it, but I mean, it's clairvoyance, isn't it? And you can a sensitive can read tea leaves. As far as, I mean, I'm sure there are symbols and this and that and the other, but there's a clairvoyant, a sensitive could read tea leaves, and that's how that was his first appearance, because I can remember Derek through football had a lot of problem with his knees. That's what brought him out of the out of the football, because he was a
I remember
professional
him saying
footballer.
about that. He was a very good footballer, wasn't he?
Yeah, yeah. But they wanted him to sit cross-legged on the studio floor, and he couldn't because of his knees. So they had to supply him with a chair, and that was his first TV appearance. And it was the first time, to my knowledge, and I'm sure I'm right in stating this, that any medium had appeared live, unedited, unscripted, on television. I know that Doris Stokes and Doris Collins, and maybe Gordon Higgins had appeared in documentaries, but it was they were on stage, and they were it was not live. There's a hell of a lot of difference between going live. So Derek was the first person to appear live on television, unedited, unscripted, panicking like hell.
I was going to say, I bet he
to
was
demonstrate
nervous.
mediumship. Yeah. And it proved enormously popular because he got asked back the following week, and the week after that, and the week after that, and the week after that, and it just went on. He was on television constantly from there on in.
Well, that is down to his, like you said, his likability, the fact that he was genuine.
So, and his accuracy.
Sorry?
And his accuracy.
Yeah,
because
he
wouldn't have lasted 5 minutes if he was giving messages live, and they weren't accurate.
I was very fortunate to. I think on the different occasions I did so. I think I only ever had one reading, but it wasn't for me. It wasn't for the fact of going to the amazing, fantastic Derek Acorah, to get a reading from him. For me, it was more of being in here, just actually being there and watching him work.
Yeah, well,
I love to sit in an audience and watch someone work.
I think that many people go there for the two live demonstrations for that very reason, to watch the medium work and to involve themselves in the atmosphere and send out the love, because the audiences are far too big for everybody to get a reading. That's the unfortunate part about it. Wonderful if you do get a reading, but you've got to go with the knowledge that the likelihood is that you won't, but take something away from the demonstration, regardless as to whether you got a personal reading or not. I mean, Derek used to do 2,500, 3,000 seater audiences, and fill them out. Well, obviously, not everybody would get a reading, but he never got any sort of complaints that people hadn't enjoyed the show, because they enjoyed watching a medium at work.
And like I said, him and Colin were very good friends. And I remember I was having this conversation with Craig last night. So sorry, anybody that was watching last night, and I'm re-saying things that I'd already said. But I remember going to see it at Cheltenham Town. I couldn't remember where it was last night, but I remember today. It's actually Cheltenham Town Hall. And it was when they were doing their 3 Medium show.
Oh, right, yes.
I can't remember how long ago that was, but that was the first time I ever saw him was back then when they were doing that.
That is a good one, while
quite
ago.
a few years ago now, and
yes, it would have been if it was Tony Stockwell was on stage with Colin and Derek at the Hammersmith Apollo. That was the first 3 mediums. But the ones after that, it was Tracy Higgs.
Yeah, that's who it was. It was Tracy.
Yeah. But it was the really big one, the really spectacular one that people really sort of kicked off the 3 mediums thing, was with Tony Stockwell. Yeah.
I've seen Tony work as well. He's interesting to watch work too.
He's lovely. Had some fun with Tony Stockwell as well at Alton Towers when he and Derek were doing that.
And that's a whole other story.
Oh no, in the most innocent of ways, but it was fun. And it involved red wine.
Why ever not? Chris has asked, this is a lovely question to ask. You'd like to know, how did you meet? How did you and Derek meet?
We apparently, Derek always used to say that we'd met many years ago when we were both in our teens, at clubs in Liverpool. He remembered me. I didn't remember him. But it was some years later. We'd both got married. We both got divorced, and we had sort of mutual friends, and that's how we sort of became friends, and that's all we were. We'd have a cup of coffee together and this sort of thing, So I mean, it sort of grew from there. I think we were both too lazy to go out looking for somebody else. How you do? Because he had a moustache in those days, and I didn't like moustaches. Oh, oh,
I couldn't imagine that.
Moustaches. It was horrible.
It was horrible.
Ooh.
So that had to go.
Oh, it definitely did. Yes. The secret was I bought him I nearly said mower, an electric razor for Christmas, and we had a few drinks, and he decided to cut it off. And of course, once he cut half off, there's no going back, is there?
Well, yeah, that was it. And oh wow, you're a happy lady anyway. I'm sure you've got so many. It's lovely to, get an insight to him as a person, rather than this gentleman that you would see on a stage or see on your TV screen, to actually get to know about him as a person, and the sides that you didn't see, and the things you didn't know about him.
Yeah. Derek was a typical man. So there was certainly nothing mystical about him at home. He was just an ordinary man, sort of. And he used to do some really strange things sometimes, and it's Derek, why? Well, I don't know. I just thought it was a good idea. But yeah, I used to catalogue it all on my Facebook page.
I've seen a few things. Like I said, I've seen a few things. And for you, I suppose, you get the memory things come up on your feeds and things. Yes. And I've noticed that now and again you'll share some of those. And I'm thinking, he must have been a right comedian at times. That's
well, he was, but he wasn't.
Mean to be.
No, he used to, honestly, really, some things he was fine. He was just a typical man.
He was just your husband at the end of the day, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's right. Yes. Well, once he walked off that stage, that's exactly what he was. Sort of. It was. He didn't bring his work home with him as such. If you understand what I mean. We had a life away from his work. His work obviously played a huge part of our home life, but we could separate it.
That's good.
It didn't. There were areas where we didn't give it a thought, and I think that was a good thing. That he wasn't absorbed in it all the time. He had a rest. His mind had a rest from it.
His mind had a rest, and he could be his own man, basically.
Yeah.
Well, to a degree.
Another thing that he used to do, he was meticulous about it. He always used to close down after working, in whatever way it would be, whether it be after a show, a private reading, or a TV show or whatever. He always, and he was meticulous about closing down. And people used to say to him, so are you picking up this? Are you picking up that? No, I'm not. Because he used to close himself down, and he was strict on that.
See, I think that for me, that's something that's important.
I think it
because
is
you
too.
need your own life and you need to have that separation.
You've got to. You've got to. He used to say, if I remained open all the time, it'd drive me crazy. And so he that was why he was so strict on that rule. Yeah.
Very difficult question to ask because I'm sure there are so many. But Tim is asking, what is your fondest memory? And I'm sure you've got a whole load of them.
Fondest memory. Yeah, the fondest memory. There are so many. I really.
I don't know how you could choose. I'm sure there were so many different memories that stick in your mind for different reasons.
Yeah, it's one this was a working thing, and this was involving Most Haunted. The first live Most Haunted was at Dudley Castle.
Yeah.
And it was the first time that anything like that had been shown live, and they had the audience in the quadrangle of the castle, sort of all the chairs, rows and rows of chairs. And they had braziers on stands at the corners, so so these flaming sort of braziers, and the lighting. And Derek was sort of brought in, and there was a blue hazy light that was being played, sort of part of the lighting thing. And as he walked in to in front of the audience, they all rose and were sort of cheering him, and it caught my throat. And even the thought of it now, sort of the love for him was so strong, and it still catches me to this day when I think back to that atmosphere. It was fabulous. So that's one working thing that I can think of. Our wedding day was fun.
Where did you get married, Gwen?
Southport Town Hall. And it was a fun day. We just had friends and family, and we had fun. I mean, it was another sort of crazy sort of a thing. Derek nearly missed his own wedding because he was directing traffic in the car park. Sort of, park there, mate. I've saved a place for you. Something. Derek and the registrar. I'll have to move on to the next couple if the groom doesn't appear soon.
Oh no!
But he was outside directing traffic. Yeah, not trying to escape.
Oh, bless him. Judy says, Derek always looks so pristine and smart. Did he have to work hard at achieving the look?
No, he didn't. He could put a bin bag on and look fantastic. Honestly, it really, really used to annoy me. And he'd get up in the morning with tousled hair and go like that, and his hair would be great. It'd look fantastic because he had sort of not very curly hair, but he had curly hair, but he kept it short because he didn't like the curls. So he'd just run his fingers through it, and it'd look, but no, he never had to work at looking good. Really annoying.
He'd fall out of bed.
I can never look good. And he never took a bad photograph either. You never ever, we all have photographs where we've got a funny expression on our face or something, so you have to sort of delete 100 before you find one that'll do. No, he used to take fabulous photographs all the time as well. It was so annoying.
So annoying. That would miss me. I'm probably there getting ready and he's there, good to go, 5 minutes.
I know, yes, yeah.
Camera ready all the time.
It just used to work out that way, though. You know, no matter what whether it was a sweatshirt or a shirt or whatever t-shirt, it just
natural.
never took a bad photo. Yeah.
Some people are lucky, aren't they? In that respect.
They are, yes.
He was one of them, bless him. David's asking, how did Derek first become aware of his abilities? That's a good question.
Yes, it's something that Derek was asked many times. He was a little boy. I think he was 6, if memory serves me correctly, and he saw what he thought. He lived with his dad went away to sea, so his mum used to live with her mum, Derek's grandmother, and they lived in a big old terraced house in Liverpool. It doesn't exist anymore. And he was coming down the stairs one time and he saw a man on the landing, and he thought that it was an intruder, somebody sort of coming into his grandma's house, and he went hurtling down the stairs, and his grandma was a medium, and she realized that what Derek had seen from his description was his grandfather, her husband, who'd passed away at sea, because he came from a family where a lot of them were in the merchant navy. So that was it. That was his first indication that he had psychic abilities, or he was clairvoyant, or whatever. And there were lots of little bits and pieces in his growing up where he had foresight on things. I mean, he used to dismiss it all because his main ambition was to become a professional footballer, which he did ultimately. And he always sort of pushed it to the side, but as he got older, it became a little bit more interesting to him, maybe more fascinating.
Yeah. And then I suppose with his knees and everything, and not being able to do the sport that he loved as well, I suppose it gave him a new direction.
Yes, when that happened, it really sort of he decided to look into mediumship and going to the spiritualist churches on a regular basis, and I mean all through his childhood up to, I think his grandma passed when he was 11 or 12. So up to that time, she had given him a grounding and explanations. So yeah, once he couldn't work as a footballer, once his knee had cropped, he spent more time going to the spiritualist churches, never dreaming for a moment, of course, that he would ever be a working medium. It was just an interest in the beginning, and then he started giving messages to people, and they were well received, and he was encouraged to get up on the platform, and that's where it all started. I think that it was his career was spirit driven. I really believe this. They gave him a taste of what he wanted as a child, this footballing career. But then they sort of put him in a position where he had no choice other than to work for Spirit. They engineered his life because he could have gone into coaching. He had his coaching certificate and he was.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm sure I read somewhere that that could have been an option for him. Back in the early days.
He was coaching school children in football and different sports, basketball and all this sort of thing. He had coaching certificates. Yeah, so that was but it's just the way that his life worked. They left him no option, really.
I think everything's planned for you. It's just as and when it happens at the right time, I believe. Jolene has joined us, which is the co-organizer of this event this weekend.
Oh, right. Hi, Jolene.
And she has just said the amount raised so far is £969.
Oh, fabulous.
That's fantastic. Thank you to everyone donating. It's very much appreciated. I just want to go back to the comments because I don't want to miss anyone and then think that I've forgotten that they're there. Once goes, Derek was the show in those early days, Gwen. He captured the audience for the rest.
Yes, I've got to agree with you. He was.
But yeah, funny enough.
No, he was.
Shelley says, remember the cheerleaders, Gwen? The fan club events were so fun.
Oh, gosh,
I remember seeing those.
Do you remember? Oh, they were fabulous. Yes. It was after Derek had been in Celebrity Big Brother, and one of the tasks that they had to do. Pardon?
He's the only reason I watched that one.
Well, you may remember the cheerleading thing that they had to do with the pom-poms and whatever. And the every year Faith Barber did a fan club get together, and they Faith and Shelley and a couple of other people dressed up with the cheerleader outfits, and they came marching in with the pom-poms and singing the song. Oh, Derek was absolutely.
That's what I mean. Like I said, I'm sure you got so many happy memories in things that brought you laughter, even if you weren't always laughing with him. Sometimes you might have been laughing at him, but
that's very true.
So lovely. One says it's such a brilliant chat, brought a smile to my face, and you know, I was honestly, I can genuinely say I was so nervous before meeting you today.
Really?
Honestly, I don't normally. And I actually sent Jolene a message and I said to her, I'm so nervous. And she's but why? And I think it's because of the fact, like I said, because I was in awe of Derek and you know, his work that he did and the things he brought to the forefront and the shows and just him as a person and being a medium myself, I suppose, was the way he was, and watching him, like I said, you know, that was back in the 90s. So, you know, I was born in the 80s. So in the 90s, he was very influential then to me.
Yes, I would think so, yes, because you'd be so young at that time.
So, you know, to watch him work and everything else. And I used to just enjoy watching the shows and things with him. And
yes.
I don't think I actually... certain show, I don't think I carried on watching it after he left. It just wasn't the same.
A lot of people say that. I don't blame them.
But he had a presence about him, didn't he? He was, you know, one of those people. He walked into a room and there was just, I don't know the only way I can explain it. There was just kind of a presence about him, even on screen. There was just
yeah.
I don't know how to put it. It was just something.
He did. Yeah. He
Just
did.
couldn't
He
throw
did
you
have a
in.
certain something. He did.
Bless
He did
him.
have a certain something that uh,
What
attracted
was it? Is it a
people.
Haunted Town? I can't think now. Was it a Haunted Town show he did? Haunted Town, the show
Haunted.
called that he did?
No, no.
What was
He
it
did.
called? The one when he went. My brain's gone blank now.
I don't
I
know.
can't think. He had oh, this was, like I said, this was going back quite a few years. We used to go around. I can't remember what the show was called. I can't think.
Oh,
My
this
life
was
at the moment. It was
before
People's
Most
Houses.
Haunted. Yeah, that was it. It was Derek Acorah Productions. Oh, he used
That
to
was
go
it.
to people's houses with Derek Acorah's Ghost Towns as well, which
Yeah,
yeah,
because you
where
can get the
he'd
Ghost
knock
Town
on
on DVD,
doors.
can't you?
Um, yeah, you can, yeah,
I'm sure
yeah,
my mum had them for Christmas one year. That was it. Not
yeah.
Haunted Town. So
That's
thank
it.
you everybody for correcting me. I do apologise for getting it wrong. Yeah, Ghost Towns. Oh, that should
Yes,
just carried on forever. That was great. Used to love watching that.
it was, but unfortunately, it it had a bit of competition.
Like everything, shall we say. But that was, yeah, you should really enjoy that.
Yeah,
And you could
I've still
see,
got the signpost. I'll auction
oh,
it
have
off
you?
at some point. Yes, I'll auction it off.
Oh, bless you.
For
Julie
charity, I've got through, not for me.
bless you. But yeah, I know. I knew I couldn't. I knew it was something Towns. And I remember watching it. I really enjoyed watching that.
Yeah, yeah.
You,
Well, he
and
did a program, uh, predictions when he was at Granada Breeze, and he used to go to people's houses then and do readings for them. But they could sort of write in. But with ghost towns, it was sort of he'd land on a doorstep, and he literally
yeah,
did. People, some people used to say that it was all organised and this sort of thing. He knew where he was
but you
going, but
see the
he
shock on
didn't.
people's faces. They open the door. And it's like,
But they've always
what?
you know some people are they will want an explanation for everything that they can
Yeah,
touch and feel happy with. But yes, obviously Derek wasn't given a map and sort of stick a pin in it. He was given a couple of streets to to go to, because don't forget the cabling for the TV show and all this sort of thing, that had to be taken into consideration. So they did
yeah,
have to sort of limit an area, and he used to just knock on a door and
it was the
introduce himself.
expressions on people's faces, though. You could just tell they were like, I don't know what I would have done. He never knocked on my door. I think I'd have got into
It
a
was,
meltdown.
it was genuine, because there were 2 or 3 times when he got the door shut in his face, but because we edited that out, didn't we?
I'm not surprised. They probably thought, what? No, not today. Probably just a shock. Well, you'd never open the door expecting to see him, would you? It was Derek's ability to laugh at himself that made him special. And now seeing Gwen and listening to her, it was obviously a perfect match. We all need to laugh in this life. And he is right. We do.
Oh, yes. Oh, he never took Derek never took himself seriously. He took his work seriously, but he didn't take himself that seriously. You know, sort of. He was, he didn't take things on board. Some of the negativity, he didn't take it on board. He used to just makes them happy to be that
There's
way.
no point, because if you do, it will just consume you and make you bitter.
Of course, and this is sadly what some people do. They do take on board criticism. They do worry themselves about what other people are thinking. And you know, so other people don't pay your bills. Why worry about them? You know, look after yourself, look after your family,
Yeah.
look after the people that
As
look
long as
after
you're all
you.
right and the people you love
Yeah,
are okay, that's all that should matter.
absolutely. Yeah. But to worry about other people's criticism or what they think or take that on board, it's not worth it.
It's not. And I'm, I'm at an age now, I'm starting to realise that myself. Due to the reason I never met Derek personally was because I was in awe of him. I had my chances, but always chickened out. Oh, bless her. Oh, bless her. Oh, see, I told you. I was correct. My mum
Got the
says
whole
I've got
box
the whole
set.
box set.
Yeah.
I told you I did.
Yeah, because I don't think well I know the Granada Breeze stuff, although I've got some DVDs that were made. They weren't for sale commercially.
Yeah.
They just were made for me. But yeah, the Ghost Hounds was on a. There were 2 or 3 box sets and a couple of lives and this sort of thing. Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
as
she's
well
got the
as.
whole shebang. She got the lot. Does Tim like to know, what did you think of Sam?
What did I think of Sam? Well, he sort of came along as part of the package. I've got to admit that I didn't know about Sam when I first met Derek. Well, you know, so when he kept that one quiet. But Sam was part of Derek.
I was going to say, well, Sam was part. They came as a package, didn't they?
Yeah, yeah. You know, so I mean, I used to joke, you know, about you know, so we were all in bed together and we all turned over together and all this sort of thing, you know, sort of. I used to annoy Derek because I can't say that about Sam. Oh, I can, and I do. Yeah.
I can imagine that.
Sam was an okay guy as far as I got to know him, but of course, as I say, it was all part and parcel of Derek, and
Yeah.
I just didn't think about it really, you know, sort of
I
it
suppose it
was
kind of normalised, wasn't it? It was just part of your life.
yeah,
Sam was
yeah,
part of Derek, and Derek was
yeah.
part of you. And it's just normal life for you, wasn't it? Really, you're not really going to think about it that much, I guess.
No, no, no. I mean, as I say, I would make the odd joke or something just to annoy him, but no, it was just part and parcel of Derek, and that was it.
Going back to what we were saying before, criticism is thinly veiled jealousy, nothing more. Oh,
Yeah, in the main, I mean, yes, you can have constructive criticism, and of course, people, if they have something to say that is valid, yeah, of course. But most of the criticism that's bandied about on social media, I would say 99% of it is really, yeah, thinly veiled jealousy. Yeah, it's
well,
sad.
that's sad. And as my friend Gary says all the time, just send them love and light. That's what he always says.
Yes,
Because
yes,
those people are the ones that need it the most.
yes. Bless them away.
Jenny says, I met Derek 2 times and he was the most genuine, loving guy I'd ever had the pleasure of meeting, which is
Oh,
pretty much what I said to you before we even came on air.
that's a very, really lovely comment. Thank you for that.
But that's what I mean, Gwen. You've got your memories of Derek as the man that you love.
Mm.
And
absolutely.
then the rest of us have got our memories of this wonderful human being that had such a gift that he shared with the world, basically. That's how I'd like to put it.
That's very kind.
But that's, you know, that's my genuine, honest opinion. But that's the thing, he'd have probably just let, he probably, from, not obviously I didn't know him personally, but he came across as the type of person that, you know, he wouldn't let that go to his head, and it would just, you know, he came across the sort of person that probably laugh it off more than anything else, rather than take it seriously.
Oh no, he never took himself seriously, and he was always amazed that people would want to stop him in the streets and talk to him and this sort of thing. I mean, it used to take an age to do the shopping because he spent more time to people than
my dad wasn't even famous, but he'd be like that everywhere you went. We'd go into town. Christmas was the worst. We used to go shopping at Christmas. We'd have to go and get mum a present, that sort of thing. I used to always be the one that got roped in to go and do it. And we'd spend more time stopping and talking to people than we would actually get into the shops to go and do what we were supposed to be doing.
Yes. Well, Derek could go through the door and somebody would start talking. I could do the whole circuit of the supermarket and pay for it.
That's what he was doing, leaving you to pay.
Yeah. Used to be a very ruse that he would use.
Yeah. He was stringing out the conversation. If I give it another 10 minutes, you'd have finished the shop. I won't have to do it. And she'd have paid for it every time to go home. Oh dear, I can imagine that. Chris, Derek was an inspiration, plain and simple. We still think of Derek when people mention Most Haunted. It's continued 15 years since he left, says it all about it, how important he was in its success. In plain and simple, I totally agree. He was a legend, and he always will remain to be, because you're here and you continue his legacy, and you still are, and you're giving something back to the people, as he's no longer here to do it himself, and you've got an army of people that do that, and you're continuing that. Like I said at the beginning, I think that's fantastic.
I will continue on. while I'm alive, Derek's alive.
That's lovely. And you know, when on that point, I think that's such a wonderful thing that Chris has said there about being legend, because he was in exactly what you've just said. And I think that is a lovely point to leave things on today.
Yes.
And it's been wonderful, genuinely, for me. Thank you so much for talking to me.
And good luck with your festival. I hope you raise many more pounds.
Thank you.
To help the raising awareness of the sadness that people have.
And thank you very much. It's very much appreciated. Everyone, I'm just going to play you a short video, just for those of you who just joined us, just to remind you of what this weekend is about, why we are supporting this charity, and why we are raising the funds that we are doing. So, Gwen, thank you ever so much for joining me and giving us your time. It's very much appreciated. And you take care of yourself.
And you. Thank you. Thanks to everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.